Hello, 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 ladies. This podcast is designed exclusively for you. This is her talk show where we dive into inspiring thoughts, ideas, and stories, all with one purpose to empower and uplift women like you. I'm Sabrina Victoria, your host and guide on this journey of self discovery and growth. I invite you to hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. Together, we are creating a vibrant community of empowered women. Get ready to unleash your brilliance. Her talk show starts now.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question. What do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Today for this episode of Her Talk Show, we've had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. If you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. Either way, if you are watching us, please share this video so we can get more eyes and more ears on the awesome content that we are about to share today. Today, we're talking to an amazing woman, Miss Kate Polsinelli, a resilient entrepreneur, coach, speaker, and podcaster. From performing on stage at 10 years old to navigating teenage pregnancy and enduring an abusive relationship, she has emerged courageously and empowered as the founder of the Lotus Effect. She empowers individuals to rise above challenges and unlock their potential through a powerful mindset and customized business operations. Her mission is to guide others on their Lotus journey, transforming muddy waters into beautiful, fulfilled lives. Welcome, lady.
Hello.
Yes, girl. How are you?
I am fantastic.
I am so excited. For those of you that don't know, Kate Polsinelli was on this podcast, I feel like it was years ago.
Yeah.
And I invited her back again because there's been so much awesomeness happening within her business, within her community. And I'm like, girl, we need to do a catch up to let everybody know what is new and grooving on your side, and to just let individuals know that the journey is forever.
Yeah.
It's
definitely.
not just like we grow a business and then it's just kind of complacent. There's ups and downs and there's pivots and turns throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. And I appreciate that too, because it's really interesting when you think about being an entrepreneur, right? We have this corporate understanding of it's going to be like this. And then this is how it's going to run. And that is not how it happens at all. But it's a beautiful evolution. Oh my gosh, I can't speak this morning. And I love it because the more that you get into it, the more you get to siphon through I really like this. I don't really want to do this. I really like this. I want to do less of this. So it's really cool because, a lot of people get into the entrepreneurial space so that they can make their own hours, make their own money, do what they love. But a lot of us don't know exactly what it is that we really want to do when we get in the space. So we start with all these hopes and dreams that are in one version of ourselves. And then as you grow and you elevate and you hire mentors and you do all the things, there's this other version that comes out. And that version is that's what I got into this journey for. But for most people, it does not happen within the first few months, or hell, within the first year or two.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely 100%. And I like how you're saying, you mentioned right off the bat, hiring mentors, because I think that is so important. As much as we're we have things to teach, we're also at the same time being taught, whether it's through courses or programs or having a coach ourselves through the journey. On and off, we're constantly learning and picking up new things so that we can then bring them to our clients. We're constantly on a journey ourselves of learning, not just teaching.
Yeah. And you have to, you have to want to be open to constantly learning. The moment that you sit through a class or listen to a coach or a teacher or someone, you're like, nah, I already know all that. Like, you've already let your ego take over. And so, like, that's one thing that I really try to lean into, even if it's like somebody that I'm supporting that is inviting me to something. And I'm like, well, I mean, I know a lot about this. I'm always excited to go because I'm like, okay, so now I get to hear maybe the same thing that I know, but from a totally different perspective, which could help me understand a client that I'm working with that maybe has a similar perspective of theirs that maybe I didn't resonate with before. Now I can have communication that's on their side versus just the way that I know how to do things. So I think it's extremely important. But I think the biggest piece of that as well is getting in with the right mentor or coach. Right. And I've seen so many people that get into the space of like, oh, everybody says I got to have a coach or I need to have a mentor. And so they like dive into, someone that focuses on like business strategies, but like you don't even have your foundation created. Right. Or you dive into someone that focuses on marketing, but like you don't even know what you want to offer people. So like you really need to be in tune with where you are at in your journey. And you also need to be aware with who you're working with. And something that I really, really enjoy and attest to, and I do myself, is when you meet with someone and they tell you all the things they can help with, if they are talking more than you, they're probably not the right coach. They're not listening to what it is that you're going through. So therefore, they're not paying attention to how they can actually help you. You're just a sale. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. So you need to be aware of that. And you also need to be aware of if you're talking with someone and they're telling you what they can do and you're like, I don't know, and they continue to sell you, one, it's okay to say no. And two, it just means that you guys don't align or you're on a different path. But you need to be aware of that, because I've seen so many people that are like, well, I hired a coach, and then they get done with them and they come to me and they're like, I didn't learn anything. Like, I wasted all this money, all this time. And it's not necessarily one of the other's fault. It's just there was miscommunication and you were so desperate to get into growing a business that you didn't pay attention to what your inside was telling you, which is, I don't really think that I align with how they're teaching me, but you went for it anyway because that's what everyone said.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Something you said made me think. I don't remember what it is now. I want to talk about, the transformation that you've been on. I know that, your journey to, get from where you were to where you are now has had its ups and downs. Can you give us a rundown of, your past?
Yeah, definitely. So, well, gosh, I mean, you heard it in the intro, right? I I was on stage at 10. I always thought that singing was going to be like my thing, right? So when I was in like second grade, I decided to join the talent show, and I literally sung "He's Got the Whole World in His Hands" a cappella, like no music, to like, I think we had 600 students in the school at the time. So like, I've always loved being in front of people. But the other piece of me was I was always the one.
Wait a minute, were you good?
I was good. I'm still good.
For real? At 10?
Yeah, oh yeah. I love to sing. It was always a dream, and then I became a mom at 16, and so all of that, kind of went on the back burner. So I've sung at weddings, and I tried out for America's Got Talent. I've been through several different things. It's always been one of those in the back area kind of thing. So my husband will make me go to like karaoke bars. I sung at a friend's wedding. I sung at 4th of July. I had a friend that had a live band and was like, you have to sing. So yeah,
What kind of genre do you sing? What's your like thing?
Oh my goodness. So I have actually sung all kinds of things. Funny enough, the one thing I do not sing is country. But I enjoy soul-led music. So music that has a story, that has a feeling to it, that has an emotion behind it, because that's what I sing from. I sing from an emotional standpoint. So I've done everything from like Etta James to Alicia Keys to Demi Lovato, Evanescence. That's always the one that surprises people. So I go all over the place, but those that have a story, those that have meaning behind what they do. Sam Smith is one of my absolute favorites. Alicia Keys is one of my absolute favorites. I love a lot from Adele, because there's just that soul behind it, that there's that story, and you can attach yourself to that story when you are singing, and it just puts you in this whole other world. So like when I have a bad day and it's just like really crappy, if I'm driving in my car, I will literally turn the music up to like 25 and just sing my heart out. Like I'm sure people next to me are like, what in the hell? Because I've got arms going and and everything. But that's, for me, that's a release, right? Like some people scream or they kick or they, hit pillows or they go out and they have to do certain things. For me, when I have a lot of buildup, like that is my release, is I just go out and sing to the high heavens.
That is so freaking cool. So when you like sing in the car with your kids, you're actually in tune.
Yeah. Funny enough,
as opposed to the rest of us moms.
My kids actually enjoy it. Funny enough, like my youngest one was at the 4th of July party that we were at, like last weekend. And I did one song. They asked me to do another song, and he asked if I would do one. And it was one by one of his favorite bands that him and I used to sing in the car a lot together. And so I was like, okay, one more. And then like, I'm done. And so the guy was getting the music set up, and my youngest one, who's really introverted, like usually pretty quiet, kind of stays doing self, is standing to the side, and all of a sudden he screams, "My mom is on stage! Give it up for Catherine Polsinelli!" And I was like, what just happened?
Oh, I love that.
I don't think my kids have ever embarrassed me as a mom, but that was like a moment like, oh my God, like my kids just did that. But it was so endearing as well to know that like my kids love what I do, and like they love their mom. And we've gotten to a place, because when I talk about the abuse, like my kids saw a lot of that. And so with them being 19 and 15 now, you really think that there is this space of needing to do their own thing and like, oh, mom, right? Like that. But I have a really good relationship with it. Now, I didn't always have it that way, but through my healing journey over the last several years, and then taking the healing that I went through and teaching my kids how to heal bits and pieces of themselves and understand the emotional piece behind it, and that it's okay to talk about it. You don't have to suck it up because you're a man, kind of a thing, has like really opened up our relationship. And so I'm very blessed to have that with my kids because of what I went through and because of the healing journey as well.
So after 10 years old singing, pregnant at 16, then what?
Oh gosh. Well, I made a decision when I found out that I was pregnant, because I was a real big go-getter. So I played for the school softball team. I ran track. I was in choir. I actually went to Disney World and sang at Epcot. I sang a solo with my choir class when I was 16 and pregnant. That was that was interesting. But when I got pregnant, because it was such a shock to me, but it was also a shock to my family. My family was a lot more reserved when I was growing up. I was raised, Catholic. My family is still together. There were certain things we didn't talk about. And so I freaked everybody out because I had all these dreams and these goals. I was going to college. I was going to do softball. I was going to have scholarships and all the things. So I made a decision, and that was either I can choose to continue to be a teenager and my parents can help take care of my kid, or I can suck up what the decision is that I made and what happened, and I can step into motherhood. And so I chose motherhood. So I left the school that I was at. I found a school actually that was an alternative school that allowed me to take my son with me. So I paid for daycare. It was $1 a day, and I babysat at night. I finished my school a year early. I graduated second in class, president of student council. I sung at my graduation, and I started college at night. So as soon as I graduated, I went to college in the evenings, and I worked a full-time job during the day. I worked at a daycare that allowed me to bring him with me. My goal was to not allow my parents to raise my kid. That was my goal. Ultimately, what ended up happening was I was still a teenager, and so my parents and I butted heads. And so when I turned 18, I left. I was like, I can do this, I can handle it, I can figure it out. Like, I've been doing it all on my own. I paid for everything for my kid. I was also very blessed for people that gifted a lot of things to me, but I made sure that my parents didn't pay for diapers, wipe, anything. So at 18, I moved out. Thought I was going to stay with a friend for a little bit. That didn't work. I ended up in another relationship. So my oldest one's father kind of faded away after about the first year. So I got into another relationship, craving something with somebody that my family had, and craving someone to be there for my kid, right? Because that's all that I knew. Most of my friends, a lot of them were together at the time when I was younger. And so that's what I wanted. And that landed me in 8 years of abuse. I had my second one when I was 19, and I got out of the relationship at about 27. So my kids were 10 and 7 at that time. So, and that started a whole nother journey. I was very blessed to have a full-time medical job at that time, and my family let me move back into one bedroom that they had that I started over with. But when I say I started over, I mean I literally started. Like, I bought my first car at 28. I bought my first cell phone, and I also filed for bankruptcy because I was in such debt from the previous relationship and all the credit cards that he ran up and things like that. So I literally didn't really know what life was and like how to be on my own or how to be a parent until about 27, 28. And so that really started, I would love to say that it started the healing journey, but it didn't. I did what most people did, and that was, I knew that I'd take care of my kids. I knew I had a full-time job, so I took everything that I dealt with and I shoved it in a box. I put it in the corner. I was still going through court, which that ended up being a 4.5-year battle on and off for custody and everything else. So that was another part of the journey. I just kept stuffing the emotions down. I put myself back in college because I never got a chance to finish when I got with my ex at the time. That was crushed. I couldn't stay in classes. I wasn't allowed to go to sleep when I needed to. So there was a whole mess of things that kept me from graduating. So my first declaration was, I'm putting myself through college. I'm getting my freaking degree because I've been trying for this thing. And so I did online. And so I worked 40, 50 hours a week. I came home. I took care of my kids. I would cook, clean for them and help the family as much as I possibly could. And then in the evenings when they went to bed, I went to class. So that's what I did. And I did that for almost a year. So I became the bona fide people pleaser. If anybody needed anything, I was the one that was there for them to help, whatever it was. It didn't matter. And I made sure that my kids and I got to go out almost every other weekend to do something. We were hiking, we were in the woods, we were doing something that they never got to do because we weren't really allowed to leave the house when I was with my ex. So I was making up for a lot of things. And that actually ended up leading me to heart problems. So on the 1-year anniversary, I was working for my doctor. I kept having breathing issues and I couldn't figure out what it was. Like, I would have these attacks of not being able to breathe. I didn't know what panic attacks were at the time. So I just thought like I was having just some type of random issue. So I ended up going to a doctor. They put me on a heart monitor. I had to wear that for 24 hours. I had to go see a heart specialist. I had to have an EKG done. And they came back and they said, well, you have 1,000 extra heartbeats in a 24-hour period, but your heart is healthy. So we don't know what's wrong with you. We think you're fine. It's just maybe you're stressed. And I was like, I'm not stressed, right? I'm like, I'm out of my relationship. Like, I got my kids. I ain't stressed. But lo and behold, I did end up going to therapy, which diagnosed me with PTSD and anxiety. So that was something that I had to deal with for a long time. And I had a really hard time with that, dealing with being boxed in and having this issue. And I was like, that is not who I want to be. I refuse to allow him to take care of to still have control of my life. And so as I started getting into this mode of like knowing that I needed to heal something, that's when doors started opening up. I met people that were in a totally different world than mine, that focused more around your mindset and affirmations and manifestation. And that was my first introduction about 2.5 years after I got out of the abuse, that I started learning that, like, oh, like, you can do something about this.
Yeah.
You actually have control of how your mind works, what you think, where you want your thoughts to go, and then how that gets you into a different world and a different level in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to say that what a journey compared to, not compared, so that led you to where you are. How has the journey that you've been on giving you the tools that you need to go through the challenges of entrepreneurship?
It helped in a lot of ways. And it's funny because it also helps at different stages, right? So, like, in the beginning, I learned about codependency and boundaries and people pleasing, and it's okay to say no. And that led into what ended up me losing my job for standing up for myself, but it jumped me into the entrepreneurial space. And once I got into that space, that's when I realized that things could be completely different, and I had more control than what I thought I did. But the control was in a mindset aspect, not necessarily a physical aspect that we try to hold on to, right? And so I did what everybody does, that has never been an entrepreneur. I went through the overwhelm. I went through I have to run my business like a corporate business. It has to be done at this time to this time, and I have to do these things to this thing every day. Like, I went through all that, and I just spiraled. But what I learned from that was, one, mentors can be amazing. And I was very lucky enough to find 2 of them that were just beautiful souls that led me alongside my journey, not push me down a road that they felt like I needed to go. And so from there, I was really able to blossom into what is uniquely me. And I've realized that for everyone is we're all fighting silent battles. We're all going through things we don't talk about because we're afraid that people won't understand, or people will think that we're weird, or people will think that we're different. And I learned that through my journey. And what I learned was how to embrace who I am, which is the quirks and the dorkiness and the going live when I have nothing prepared and saying whatever the hell comes off the top of my head and screwing up and making mistakes. But that was also a part of my healing journey as well. Like, that has helped me with establishing boundaries. That has helped me with knowing who my clients are and not being that person to say, oh, I work with everybody, like anyone, it doesn't matter. It's allowed me to stand in my own power and my own courage and be confident enough to say, like, no, this is how I operate. And it's okay if you don't agree with it. No, I don't really think that you and I are a match, but I know somebody that can help you, right? Like, it's giving me the strength and the courage to step into what it is that I want to do. And now I get to hand that over to my clients to help them as they go through that journey of discovery.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit on this word that kind of follows entrepreneurs around, this word failure, and how you have decided to interpret failure in a healthy way?
Yeah. So I read an amazing book called The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weiss. And that book made something click. It talks a lot about self-sabotage. And what I realized was we put definitions and emotions on words. So we decide to make them good or bad. It's not that the word has that. I mean, if you look the definition up of the word failure, it doesn't say it's a negative word. Like, right, like none of that's there. It's something that society has associated with it. And so everyone else in our downlines and as we grow up, we associate with what terms are good and what terms are bad. And so I made the choice to decide that things are just neutral and I can make the decision on what they meant to me. So failure for me is something that you have to go through in order to succeed. Mm. And I saw that when I looked back at my past. I didn't fail as a mom. I felt like that for a really long time. But what I did is I had to go through certain trials, certain issues, certain journeys, certain pathways that allowed me to learn who I really am, what I really believe in, and have an inner confidence that no one can take away from me ever again. And I allowed that to happen. So failure to me is something that we have to go through in life. Life is not perfect. Nothing in the world is perfect. And it's funny, I just read this in the book I was reading last night. The entire world is imperfect. Your trees are imperfect. Everything is imperfect, and it's imperfect for a reason, because it allows things to grow, to evolve. That's how we have volcanoes and mountains that have become from certain things, and the depths of the ocean. It's because of the imperfections. And if that's in nature and we're connected with nature, then why can't we be the same?
That's powerful.
So failure to me is the journey that you take in order to continually evolve and learn about who you are, to continue to become the better version of yourself. It's not a negative issue. It's only negative because society has made it that way. I see it as lessons that I am supposed to learn so that I can continue more of what I want to do, which has allowed me to teach my kids to do more of what they want to do and not fall into the trap of what society teaches us.
Yeah, good stuff for sure. You know, this is reminding me of to go along with failure, right? Because a perceived failure usually means that something needs to change, some sort of pivot needs to happen. And I think your story is a really great testament to this, of all of the pivots that you have gotten to do throughout your journey that has really made your storyline so beautiful. And this feeling that I feel like a lot of individuals have, especially who are jumping into entrepreneurship, of this, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I don't want to commit to anything because I'm not sure. I don't want to fail, and not really understanding the concept of pivoting and that it's okay to change your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't mind, you know, kind of sharing the pivots that you've gone through within just your business journey, because I think that that's super powerful. I feel like so many people don't get into it, or so many people stay in their niche that they picked for way longer than they should, even when it's totally, they're not aligned with it. It doesn't feel good. It's not creating the income that they're expecting. There's a passion somewhere else that's bubbling up. But because of this word failure that you explained so beautifully, they don't want to pivot because they don't want to have to explain to their friends, family, community that there's been a shift. So could you explain a little bit about, you know, your journey, maybe a couple of the pivots that you've gone through with your business in order to get to where you are? It hasn't just been a straight line.
No, not at all. And I love this question so much because my husband and I actually sat down and talked about this not too long ago, because when I first stepped into the world of entrepreneurship, I actually started out as a real estate agent. I thought I was going to be a realtor. I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then I started paying attention to different things. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this. And oh, I like helping these people. And I just genuinely wanted to help. And that opened up other doors into a corporate position, which then led me into opening up originally what was called Agent Services Plus. And Agent Services Plus was a consulting company that was highly focused on the administrative background of people's businesses. I had a medical administration degree. That's what I enjoyed doing. So I was like, cool, I can help people with all the crap they don't want to do, right? And so the whole thought process around that was that I was going to stick in real estate and I was just going to help people and help their teams. What I started doing, though, was standing by my boundaries, standing by what my feelings were attached to that. So every time I would do something, I'd be like, okay, do I enjoy doing this? No, this sucks. Like, this is burning me out. Like, I'm tired of doing it already. And I allowed myself to kind of pivot in that piece. That led me to opening up the space to entrepreneurs. And I was like, okay, well, then I'm going to work with real estate agents and anyone else, any entrepreneur, and I'm going to help them on their back end stuff. And so that was the focus. What happened with that was I thought that that was the direction that I wanted to go. And my husband and my family, that made sense to them. So sticking by that and kind of following kind of the corporate panel piece as well allowed them to understand what I was doing and to be able to help me grow my business in a linear way. What ended up happening through that was I had a couple of clients, I loved it, then I hated it, and then it got boring, and then I got burnt out. And then there was always like, do you ever get this feeling like that little bitty tug, like you have a little kid kind of pulling on your shirt, like you just barely notice it, but you like brush it off? That's the tug that I kept getting. Like, this is not what you're supposed to do. Like, you should go this direction. Like, you should try this. And I kept shoving it off and I kept pushing off. What ended up happening with that is I actually spiraled completely out of control in my business. I quit posting about it. I didn't want to network with people. I started shutting down because I didn't know how to build my business the way that my husband and my family wanted me to. And then I also realized that building it that way was suffocating me. So I went from talking people to building a business to having clients to literally coming to a complete halt and not doing anything. And then freaking myself out because there was no money coming in and I'm still having to pay my part of the bills and I have kids to take care of. And so it was like all these things kind of tornadoed together, right? And I was working with a mentor at the time and I was telling him about this and they just asked me, if you could do anything that you wanted to do, and money didn't matter, it wasn't an object, you had all the money in the freaking world that you want, what would you do? And I was like, I want to help people. I want to help people that are struggling like I was, and I want to give them the hope that they can do something better. But I don't want to help them in the way that most traditional people do, where I say, okay, well, this is my way of doing it, and so like you can do this. Like, I really want to listen to them because people didn't listen to me. And I want to hear what it is that they're saying, and I want to help build their business the way that it works for them. And that does play into the mindset piece as well, because if you don't work on that, your business only grows so far and you fall back, which is what happened to me. I didn't focus on my mindset. I was just focused on how can I build a business? How can I build a business? They said that I should do it this way. And so when I finally made that decision to stand in that power, that's when things shifted. And I had a conversation with my husband and I said, look, I understand that, like, you know, from a corporate mindset, from a very linear perspective, this is what you think I should do. I said, but I am meant for something so much more. I said, and I got into the business to do what I love to do. And I should be able to continue to tweak that business and change that business as I evolve as a person as well. Yeah. And as I understand that you may not believe in it and this may not make sense to you, I was like, but just do me a favor and trust me. I said, that's all I need you to do. And he was like, okay, whatever you need. So that's when I stepped into the space of, you know what, I really love working on the operational piece of people's businesses. And I love helping them on the back end because nobody pays attention to that because they get so caught up in the strategies and the strategic pieces of digital marketing and branding and all the stuff that I did. And I was like, I want to help them create a foundational piece where they can breathe, where they can take some of their life back as they build their business the way they want to. And I want to help them with their mindset. And I've had a lot of people say this to me too. Oh, well, that's kind of weird that you shove the two together. I'm like, why? I'm a multi-passionated person. I love working on the operational side and I love helping people with their mindset, but I've had people come to me that specifically want to have someone that helps them just work on their mindset piece. Why can't I do both? Why can't I do both? If that's what I love doing and I get to share two pieces of me, which is the business side that I've always enjoyed and the piece of me that had to grow and needed support, and I get to provide that to people, I should be able to do both. I can do whatever the hell I want. It's my business. Mm-hmm. And so pivoting into that is what led to all of these changes. I mean, the amount of people I started meeting with was on a different level. The way that I conversated with people when I networked was on a different level. The people that they were introducing to me was on a different level because I was standing in what I believed and not holding back to be like, well, I mean, if you don't agree with that, you know, I mean, I kind of can do it. That, like, I stopped judging people's facial expressions and just like wholeheartedly was like, this is what I do. Don't understand it? Sure, cool. I can answer more questions. Like, I'm cool with that. Don't understand? That's okay. You don't have to. It's fine. Like, I know what I do. And by stepping into that, that's when my podcast got picked up on a radio station. That's when I realized, holy crap, Agent Services does no longer serve me. Like, that is so freaking old. That is so 3 levels ago that I need to branch out into something that really defines what it is that I want to do, that wholeheartedly encompasses where I am now and where I know that I'm going. And that's where the Lotus Effect came from. Because that has always been a symbolism to me for the crap that I went through. It always reminded me that no matter the murky, muddy, crappy water that you come from, you can always rise to the top and turn into something absolutely beautiful. And that is the journey that I take people on. And sometimes that looks like more in their business and more focused on strategies and tactics. And sometimes it melts in with mindset. And then for some people, they've kind of got their business really good, but their mindset's really off. And if you just help them with that, they can shine with everything else. So I get to encompass every bit of that into what I do. And I get to help people on multiple levels because that's what I know that I'm meant to do. And that's what I enjoy doing. And I know that I'm meant to do something greater than that. And I know that I'm going to spread this message even further. I know that speaking is going to be a thing. I am going to be on stage just like I was at 10 in front of hundreds of people. And I'm going to be sharing this message with people on a completely different level than what we're used to hearing. And I'm okay with that. But when I learned to step into who I was and I accepted who I was instead of worrying about what other people thought and making sure that I fit into their cup of tea, that's when everything flipped. And so now to me, it's just writing another chapter, whatever that looks like for my business. And I can move it and I can pivot it and I can evolve it to whatever I want at any time that I want because I'm growing. And as I grow, the type of clients that I'm going to work with are going to grow and it's going to shift and it's going to change. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Powerful stuff. And I really like how you are pointing out the friends and family, because I really do think that that is a big issue. You know, having to sit down and have these conversations with moms, dads, husbands, partners, and to explain shifts when you were so passionate about one thing and then there's a shift. It could feel like you're giving up. It could feel like you're not focused. It could feel like the failure. But in essence, what it is, which you explained it perfectly, is you are evolving into who you're supposed to be as you are learning more things, as you are growing, as you are educating yourself, your business evolves with you. And, you know, I heard a long time ago, I don't remember who said this to me, but I have grabbed onto this so hard in my own life, as far as you have to make room for the other people who are coming up. So like, as you're shifting into something greater, there's somebody else that has to fill that void where you were. If you never move and shift up, then there's a block for other people to be able to shift into where you were. And there's this graduation. It's just like, school, it's just like a, job. Like when I first started, I was a bagger. If we all just stayed baggers at grocery stores, I mean, where's the evolution of like, who's running the rest of the companies? And then where are these other 16, 17-year-olds supposed to be getting jobs if we're all still baggers? It's the same exact thing, right? If we all stopped growing at senior year and we're just going to stay here at senior year, there's no room for the juniors to go. So like there's a gradual shift that we're consistently going on, not just in school, not just from 17 to 25, but for the rest of our life, we have to continue to pivot where we're at so that somebody else can move up into our where we just were. Now there's somebody else that can shift into, mentoring and helping real estate agents, because now you've moved up. And I think that that's absolutely beautiful. And talking about the friends and family aspect, I think is powerful, because so many of us, I think, do stay for way longer than we're supposed to in scenarios because of not wanting to have those conversations or just not wanting to disappoint.
Well, and it's that outside validation, right? So even if you're not close with your family, you probably have a circle of friends or a couple of people that you take advice from constantly that you feel like you owe it to them, right? And it's the same thing with family. And, I love my family to death, but my family is whatever level that they are at. And that's not the level that I want to be at. And so you have to be okay with knowing that you may surpass the level that they're at.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you a horrible person. It doesn't make you egotistical because you decided to do better or because you decided to learn more. It just means that you were provided with different tools than they were that were made available to you because of the healing that you decided to do. And whatever journey that they're on and whatever aspect and level that they're at in their life is where they decided to be. And that's okay. And when you can learn that, even if they don't support you, supporting yourself and knowing that, you know what, I know that I'm freaking determined. I know that I've been through enough shit and I've taken myself out of it and I've started over 3 or 4 times and I can do this crap again. That is something that no one can take away from you. When you can learn to have an inner confidence, an inner courageous being that is constantly patting yourself on the back, that is where you grow and no one can stop you. But it's searching for that outside validation and constantly asking people, well, what do you think? You can ask people for their opinion. I asked for people's opinions when I did my logo, but I took what they were saying with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
With a grain of salt.
Yeah.
And if it didn't resonate with me and I was like, I don't really think that, then I went with what I felt. I didn't change my perspective and I didn't change the way I was going to do things because one person was like, yeah, no, I don't like that. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Why not? I mean, that's cool. That's your perspective, but I like this. So I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
But you have to learn to be able to do that. And you have to learn to be able to do that in all areas of your life. That, to me, was game changing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the aspects that I've really been honing in on with Her Nation and her mastermind is that exact process of, take what you like and leave the rest. Just because you're getting, feedback in several different arenas or viewpoints doesn't mean that you have to take it all or feel guilt or shame for not acting on that one thing. It's, hey, but that's how we learn, right? So like somebody's opinion could spark something that has you going down a journey. And if you wouldn't have heard that thing, then your brainstorming wouldn't have taken effect in order to lead you on a journey. And one of the other things that I have adopted in saying several times during conversations when I am giving any sort of feedback or my opinion is I always say, hey, this is costing or this is worth exactly what you're paying for it, which is zero. Right? It's like, it's just free advice. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, but is something that I'm saying to you, could it elicit something else that could help you moving along that journey? So we all have opinions, we all have thoughts of how we think things should go according to whatever it is, but they're all worth nothing, especially, if you are paying for it or not paying for it, it's all worth nothing. But, totally feeling you on that. And I do think, asterisk on the whole, every part of your life. I think that that's so important because we're talking about business here, But this is valid everywhere. This is valid everywhere. You're going to have people that are giving you advice on your kids, on the way, your health, on your partnership, your business, your spirituality, and yes to everything they're saying. And there's no rules. You just do whatever you want.
Yeah. And people need to understand. And that's the same thing, even when you hire a coach or a mentor, you have to understand that they're teaching you from their perspective as well. And sometimes their perspective may not resonate with you. You need to be able to step up and say, I don't get that, or that doesn't resonate with me, and allow them space to explain it differently, but also understand that there may be certain things that they are teaching you that just doesn't make sense with you or you don't agree with. And it's okay, even if you're paying them, to disagree with it and be like, yeah, that's okay. I actually decided to do it this way. I'm not saying go completely against, right? But you need to understand what you feel like wholeheartedly, not from your head, but from your heart, when you're thinking and when you're doing things. And when you become very present in your life, you really start to be able to tell the difference between the two. You really do. Like, I can tell when my logical brain is kicking in and it's like, oh, but you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And my heart will be like, no, we need a break. You need to take a break. And I'm like, okay. But you can tell the difference. But it does take you slowing down and learning who you are and how you operate to be aware of all those pieces.
Yeah. And also learning as you go. I mean, there's times when I in my past, when I was doing a lot more one-on-one coaching, there's times I would get out of sessions and I would just be like, I sucked in that session. I did that totally way wrong. I should have done that totally different. I should have said that totally different. And then recognizing that and then doing better. This is reminding me. So I did I ran in my wisdom studio as a speaker a couple weeks ago. And I did a meditation for about 15 minutes of it, had everyone close their eyes. And it was kind of like I had people doing things in the meditation. So they were actually like visualizing things. And while I was having to do the visualization, I was saying, I want you to. So I want you to imagine yourself doing this. I want you to, or not imagine, I want you to do this, like in the meditation. Like, I want you to sit down. I want you to relax your shoulders. I want you to, envision a beach scene. So I just kept saying, I want you to, very calmly and lovingly. Well, I had a woman during that click her screen off. She went dark. And I was like, oh, she must just be, sometimes, and I've heard this before, it's like they feel like I'm just staring at them.
Yeah.
I'm watching them with their eyes closed. So I'm like, she probably just wants privacy, just to maybe she's getting emotional, who knows, right? So she turned her screen off. And I kept going. And after the meditation, she turned her screen back on. We closed up. We did feedback, whatever. The next day I get an email. And she writes this email about her viewpoint on this process of I want you to, and how she was interpreting that as me telling her what to do. So it was so interesting for me though, right? Because we're both coaches. And it was interesting for me as a coach, allowing her the space to give beautiful feedback. She was very loving and kind. And she said, I invite you to use the term, I invite you to, versus I want you to. And she said, just see how it feels for you, because it feels better for me. It was a very long, like she explained, it was very well written. And I sat back after reading that, and how interesting it is to be in a state of, like what you were saying earlier, student learning, and then also allowing other people to show up for me, whether I asked for it or not, as a teacher, but also teacher student, right? Because she came in the email as student. I questioned myself on why you telling me I want you to do this was affecting me. Like she was getting curious herself during that. That's why she turned her thing off, because she was getting angry with me. And she checked in with herself and she said, she was like, why is this getting me so angry? And she did some self-reflection, which she notated in the email. And then at the same point, then she became a teacher. And she said, I invite you to in your meditations versus that. So it was like a teacher-student learning right there in one. And the journey that we're all on, as far as like we're coaches, a lot of times surrounded by coaches.
Yeah. But that to me is letting go of that ego.
Yeah.
And you can learn from anyone on any level, regardless of where their journey is or where they're at compared to where you are. And learning not to compare yourself to, oh, well, I'm kind of up here and like they're here. Getting rid of that and just knowing that when you're coaching someone, you're coaching from your heart to help them in whatever journey that they're at. You open yourself up to so many different perspectives and aspects that you would never pay attention to before. Because most of us, right, we have like these blinders on. We're like, well, no, that's how I see it. Like, I don't understand why you don't get it, right?
Yeah.
But when you start getting curious and asking questions, like I love that she took the time because she realized what it was doing for her. And so she reflected to herself first and was like, okay, why is this doing it to me, right? Yeah. If we could do that in our life, in our relationships, with the way that we parent our kids, the transformation would be astounding.
Yeah.
You know, when I have a conversation with my husband and we don't agree with something, he's like, well, I don't get it. You're not getting it. I'm like, okay, well, explain to me why. I don't ever get angry anymore. I just ask. I'm like, okay, well, why? What isn't making sense? What did you think that I said? How is it coming across? Like, I just start asking questions. Yeah. And we've had so many amazing discussions because of it. And even if we choose, he's like, well, you know, okay, well, I kind of see it. I'm like, well, that's fine. I mean, you're more than welcome to. I choose to see it this way. That's fine, right? But there's not arguing. It's understanding. And the other person feels so hurt. You know, when I started doing that with my kids and took away that parenting aspect that so many of us are like, we're in control and you're supposed to listen to me because like I am the parent. There was this mutual understanding of like, okay, I get it. I don't understand why you're saying that. So tell me more, right? Mm-hmm. But that's allowed my kids to open up and say, this is what's going on with me, or this is how I feel today, or this is what I'm dealing with, right? Like I've had my kids randomly in the car be like, I'm having a horrible week. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what's going on? I don't know. I'm just in my head. Okay, well, what does that mean? And let them just open up. It doesn't mean that I have to solve it. It's something that they remind me occasionally. My oldest one is, Mom, I don't need you to solve it. I was just needing to complain. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, Mom. Yeah. You know, but allowing that space to where you're right. You can be a teacher at times, but you can also allow yourself to be the student. And it doesn't mean that there's any difference. Yeah. It just means you're creating space. Yeah. And allowing someone else to be heard, which for so many of us does not happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. This has been great.
I love these conversations.
Yeah, this has been great. It's always cool, you know, with one of the things that I love about podcasting, and I know, you know, you wrote a podcast too, so you probably run across this also. It's like sometimes you just sit down with people and it's just like, you could just keep talking. I look up, it's like been an hour. I'm like, holy shit, it's been an hour. But the conversation could just keep, you know, continue to roll. I so love what you do. I so love the journey that you're on. I am so excited to see your community to continue to grow in the world of entrepreneurship. I would love, as we're kind of closing up here, first of all, a huge shout out to those watching live and hanging out with us. Thank you so much for being here. If you are watching us on the replay, if you could hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. But Kat, can you tell us, I mean, we have a brilliant idea of what you do, but can you give us a rundown of what you do? And obviously there's people listening live. They're, you know, inquisitive. They're resonating with you. Who should be connecting to you? Who should be reaching out to you? Who do you help? What do you do?
Yeah. So I focus on entrepreneurs or those that have up to 2 people that they work with in their business. I help on 2 different levels. I do focus on the operational piece, which is going to be more of your back end. So we're going to be working on time management, productivity, leadership skills, communication, and a growth-oriented mindset. And for those that need to encompass all of that, the people that I work with are one of 2 people. Those that have tried all the things, done all the courses, found themselves in complete just utter chaos. I can't do anything. Nothing's going right. I still have clients that I can't keep up with everything else. You feel like you can't breathe. You feel like you can't take a break. My specialty is to come in and help you customize and create those processes that are going to allow you to simplify your business, to take away the overwhelm, to de-stress what it is that you love to do and take some of your time back so that you can think better as you continue to grow and evolve your business. So for those that have people that work with them, so an admin or a VA, I do work with them to, again, on that back end side, but making sure that we have people in the right seat of the bus, the people are communicating correctly, and that systems and processes have been laid out for them so that they know what they're doing, whether you have hired them or you're getting to the point to where you're going to hire them. And I also focus on growth mindset. So if you feel like I've got my operations down, I got all the things down, but I really need someone to keep me accountable, to call me out on my shit, to help me elevate what it is that I'm thinking so that I can continue to grow, I offer that as well.
Beautiful. Fantastic. And where can people find you if they want to learn more about you?
I am on social media. So LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find me at the Lotus Effect, or on my personal page, which is now public, is at Kat Polsinelli, which you guys can see right there. So either one of those you can find me. If you're looking for more tips and to really be in my circle, I have a Facebook group as well called the Lotus Effect Group. But you can also check out my website and get all the information, or hop in my DMs. I'm constantly chatting with people, learning from them, and answering any questions that I can. And check out, don't forget to check out my podcast as well. So we have some amazing conversations. Sabrina's been on it as well. It's been super fun, called Real Chat with Cats on all of your major podcast platforms. So you can find me anywhere. Or if you're in Atlanta, you can listen to 99.1 FM, and you can find the episode there every Tuesday at 12 Eastern.
Yes, girl. I wrote your Facebook group here. Did I spell this correctly? Or should it have spaces? Or do they actually put it in like that? Should it have spaces?
They put it in together.
So is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Well, I love it. I love everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with us and giving us an update on all the awesomeness that is happening in your world and in your community. Last question. Why do you do what you do?
Because I went through a journey of having to support myself and having to find where my identity truly lied. And I believe that I went through the things that I went through to be the voice for others that don't feel like they can speak out about it yet. I am the one to provide support, the non-judgmental space, and to come with an understanding and open heart and allow you to blossom into whatever is uniquely you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here. So appreciate it. For those of you that resonate with Kat and all the goodness that she shared today, make sure you connect with her. Her website is the-lotus-effect.com. Her Facebook group is the Lotus Effect Group. And she is on all things LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure we all continue to rise. And that brings us to the end of another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our amazing guest speaker, Kat, for sharing her wisdom and inspiring us all. To each and every one of you, our dedicated listeners, thank you for staying with us until the very end. Your support and engagement means the world to us. Remember to follow, like, and share this podcast with all of your fellow humans. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue these transformative conversations and uplift each other every step of the way. The links are in the description. Until next time, do something awesome.